For all we know, this is the only planet in the universe that has life, this extraordinary phenomenon, whereby instead of just the laws of physics, we have biology as well. Biological things are prodigiously, mind-blowingly complicated. They are also very elegant, and they also carry a very strong illusion of design. It looks as though somebody made them for a purpose. Birds have wings that look as though they're designed to fly. We have eyes that look like cameras designed to focus an image. This used to be a mystery. Where did all this apparent design come from? And it was solved, as you know, by Charles Darwin with his theory of evolution by natural selection. Evolution is quite an old idea, the idea that species come from other species, and ultimately we know now that all species come from one single common ancestor, which is probably something like a bacterium. And over a period of nearly 4 billion years, that ancestral ancestral creature evolved into all the magnificent diversity that we see today. But why did it become so complex, and why did it become so designful, looking as though it's been designed? And the answer to that was Darwin's discovery: natural selection, the differential survival of randomly varying, this is a modern way to put it, randomly varying genetic codes. You contain, I contain, everybody contains genes that have come down through countless generations of ancestors. In every generation, the individuals that survived to reproduce are the ones that passed on their genes, and the genes that got passed on were the ones that helped them to survive and reproduce. So after hundreds of millions of years, the genes that are still around are very, very good at doing what they do, which is building bodies that are good at surviving and reproducing in all the different ways that different creatures do that. In the case of birds, they're good at flying. In the case of moles, they're good at digging. In the case of gibbons, they're good at swinging through the trees and so on. All the different ways that different animals do it are all aimed at the same fundamental thing, which is preserving the genes that made them do it and passing them on to the next generation. It's a remarkable fact that you are a cousin of a snail or an earthworm. There once was an animal which was an ancestor, a shared ancestor of snails and us. There really was a single animal that was the last common ancestor of snails and us. That ancestor had 2 children, one of whom was destined to give rise to us, and by us I mean all vertebrates, the other of which was destined to give rise to not only snails, but a very large number of invertebrates as well. That split took place probably 1 billion years ago, and it took place because an ancestral population was divided, was separated by some accident, some geographical accident, equivalent to 2 different rivers or 2 different islands, 2 different lakes, something like that. And in those separate places, they were free to start to diverge, to start to evolve in different directions. And when they diverged a sufficient distance from each other, they could no longer interbreed, and at that point we call them separate species. So each species any 2 species are descended from some ancestral species, and the initial parting of the ways would have come about by geographical accident of some sort. Tens of millions of species probably are alive today. Hundreds of millions, maybe billions of species have lived on Earth altogether. The great majority of them have gone extinct. We are today's species. We are the survivors. In future, evolution will probably go in very different ways. Who knows what the future may bring.